Hi, in this video, I'm going to show you my StockTraderPit indicator. I'm going to walk you through what you see on the screen and describe the values that it's going to offer you while trading. So in this example here, I have NVIDIA pulled up. This actually happens to be yesterday's chart. And what you're going to see on the high level is, let me show you a couple things here. In this, you're going to see an A plus indicator. These A plus indicators both show puts and calls. It doesn't matter that you're not trading options. If you are trading options, great, but it doesn't matter if you are or aren't. This just is saying it would be a good time to either short the stock or the stock price is going to go down, but it's an indicator saying it's going down. You can see here it also includes the confidence level as well as the price it was tagged when it displayed. The other thing I want to talk about here is we have in this area, you can see there's an exit sign. Now, this exit sign, there's three forms of these exit signs that I created. Personally, I created them not to be when you take profit or where you're going to make money, but when the trade is breaking down. This exit sign appears here because the price is crossing the EMA and it's actually protecting us, telling us that here might be a good time to get out of the trade, or caution because it's crossing the EMA, but you might have confidence it's going to continue, so you might stay in the trade. It's just a warning. So the reason this warning is here, if you look on the previous day, there was a put here, and on the put, it carried through the evening, and now it's saying the price is rising over the EMA line, which you can see here. And as it's rising over the EMA, it's warning you, be careful, this could take off. So that's what this symbol is. I'm going to get into these lines here on the EMA line. And on the EMA lines that I've created, the yellow happens to be an EMA line and the gray is an EMA line. Now, this may sound confusing, but the yellow happens to be in this view, the 9 EMA, and the gray one is the 21 EMA. So I specifically put these in here and they will show you and draw every single time that you get into a chart. It'll keep track of those. Now, we're also going to go in and I want you to see here, there's an LS label. This is liquidity sweep. If you haven't heard about liquidity sweeps, go Google it. You'll be pretty impressed what this does. But here, there's a bullish and a bearish liquidity sweep. This happens to be a bullish, and it's going to drive the price up. As you can see, the candle got large, and it drove the price up to try to create liquidity and stop people out. So you have liquidity sweeps. You also have this label here is a take profit or roll indicator, meaning there's a change of character going on here, and you may want to think about getting out of this trade or taking some profit off the table and reducing your exposure. The other thing I've done is I've created a demand and a supply area. These are dynamic. These will generate and move throughout the day. As you can see here, it just moved on me. Based on the candles. It also shows you the volume over here that's tied into those supply and demands. So hopefully that's helpful as you're trading, and you'll see that many times the trades will respect those supply and demands. As I move this over, the supply and demand will update, and you'll see that it'll fall into the demand, and typically buyers will step in and push that price up, or it'll go into the supply and sellers will start selling out of it. So um, the other thing that you'll notice here on this chart, every day these areas, support and resistance zones, are created automatically for you, or support and resistance, not zones, but levels. So these levels will be created. What's interesting here, and to take note of, is you notice how there's an R1, R2, R3, and R4. These are generated from the machine learning in the system based on previous days, and it sets those levels for you. Down below, you would think you'd have the opposite, S1, S2, S3, and S4. However, what happened is the price movement moved across those support levels, and as it moved across those support levels, it changed to new resistance. So now the price is below those levels, and as it changes, it turns red and tells you it's new resistance at that level. So that is what you see there. Now, the other thing I put on this is VWAP. Now, there's anchored VWAP and regular VWAP. This happens to be one of the VWAP lines. Now, I'll show you how to determine which VWAP that is, but that's a VWAP line. You're going to see in the settings in another video how to adjust all these things, but here, this is a VWAP line. The other thing that you will notice in our system here is there's a prediction box based on the most previous candle. So here, this is after hours, and in the after hours, it's still predicting what this stock is going to do. So I'm predicting a put, or the system is. It's a 99% put. It's read by looking at its put, where the price is going to go, how many bars it's going to take to get there, how many minutes, the prediction confidence level, and this happens to be red because it's a put. This this shaded area, this red shaded area, will actually turn to green if it's a call, so it's dynamic. Let's move on. So now you might say, wait a minute, I see other shaded areas over here. There's a green shaded area and there's a red shaded area. And that is what's called a fair value gap. Again, if you don't know these terms, I would look them up. But a fair value gap is formed when there's a jump in price and there's a gap between the candles, and it ends up becoming support or resistance for those as well. So I've included fair value gaps, and as you're trading, you'll see that oftentimes this is an area where the next candle will actually hit and get stuck there before it has enough volume or um, buyers or sellers to push it through those fair value gap areas. But that's what those shaded lines are, is fair value gaps. Another thing you're going to notice that I've created is these tables of information. And these tables, one is forward looking. So this is telling you what's going to happen here. So this is saying moving forward, the outlook says you're in a demand zone. So that's correct. We're in this orange demand zone. We're also seeing the trend is bearish. It's below an EMA line. It's below your VWAP line, and there's no fresh liquidity sweeps. If you want to enter into a trade, it's saying to wait, because right now it's testing in this demand area and to wait for an EMA reclaim. So whether you trade that way or not, this is what's telling you, hold on, be patient, and let's see what happens. In the meantime, this is what's happened already. So you were in a buy zone. There's high time frequency is bearish, meaning going forward, it still looks bearish. You know, kind of obvious the EMAs are going down. But anyway, it's still developing and there's some chance that it could reverse. So this is still telling you, be careful, not the ideal place to trade. These will actually change. These indicators will show if there's a squeeze coming on. So I built it so that it'll show you if there's a short squeeze happening or developing. They'll show you an ideal time to buy or sell, getting in and out of these trades. It'll update, again, color coded to let you know, even though this is bearish, um, it's green because it's still the confidence is green. If it's bullish, it still would be green. If it doesn't know, it'll go gray. The same with this prediction box. So as you're playing around with these, you'll see these things happening. Now, one of the things that I showed you over here is these symbols have a lot of information in them. And if you're day trading, you don't want that information. So what happens is you get a whole new set of symbols. And these symbols are designed specifically for somebody who wants to day trade. So if you change it to day trading, this will automatically default unless you override it. And you can see all the symbols if you're day trading. Let me get in closer and we'll take a look at some of these. So what this is saying, if I expand here, again, you have your EMA lines, which I think are really important when trading. And you can see the price came up to this, and then it was a put symbol, and then there's a take profit because potentially it's going to change, but nope. And again, here, this actually is probably better if I do this. Let's do a little replay and play a game. So if I do the replay, and I just picked a random area, and let's start playing this. What you're going to see is it looks pretty obvious as you're trading that it should have been a put or a call or get in or get out with the symbols, and these are still developing. What happened is there was a demand zone here, so that's what it bounced off of, and it said, "Hey, by the way, I had a call. It reversed quickly, so it dropped down, and then now we're in a put symbol, and there's a take profit. Again, it makes sense because it hit the demand area, but it came back up, and again, it didn't have the strength to keep going, so it gave you another put indicator. Again, it got down into this demand zone, and it said, wait a minute, careful. We're hitting some equilibrium here. We're getting some buyers, and it might shoot up, but it maintained that trend down. Again, we had a put symbol, and it changed. Here we have liquidity sweeps hitting, and you can see, look at it, push the price right up. So it's easier to see it when it's happening real time. Again, I just paused it here, and you're going to see we blew through some support. We've passed through a fair value gap. Um, Again, we had liquidity sweeps that tried pushing the price, pushing the price. Here we've told you to take profit on this liquidity sweep because this put is failing. And you could have traded this between the supply and the demand. It's pretty clear to see it here. When you zoom out and you see and you cancel this uh, replay, it looks very different and obvious that maybe some of these symbols weren't in the ideal place, but at the moment they were. Now, here's what's also very interesting. Um, you guys who like to day trade, this is going to help you. If you notice, though, this has been in a downward um, bear market trend. And had you not played the 1 minute and you played the 5 minute, you probably wouldn't have seen as much um, going on in terms of your labels, and you would have stayed in the trade a lot longer. So here was the put. The, it didn't give you a lot of alerts. It said, look, we're still going down. And you can maybe take some profit here just because there's a change of character going on. And it came down, but in this chart, as you're looking at it, we're still in this. If you would have taken this put, you'd still be in this trade, and it would have gone from 168.98 or basically $170. We're down to 166 after hours, and it's still saying it's going to go down the next day. Um, Another thing that you can do is with this is you can go to a 10-minute, 15-minute, 30-minute. I have these defaulted up on here in my layout. But on the daily chart, um, what's interesting here is you won't get labels on the daily. Not many people trade on the daily. But what it will do is it will generate supply and demand zones for you, as well as based on the daily, it'll give you your prediction box. So you can see here, if I make this larger, get this text so it doesn't overlap each other. Sorry, it's kind of overlapping. Let me shift this a little differently. So here, this is still saying after hours on a daily chart, I still think it's going down to 158.94, which is different than the 5 minute chart showed you because we're on a smaller um, uh, data set. But here, there's a fair value gap up here. There's a fair value gap here. We're in a demand zone, means we might want to be careful. This could start to retrace and go back up. So here it's saying be careful and wait, but we've already blown through three support areas, levels, and now we're down to a support level here that we might go down through. Um, Also, to kind of explain what you're looking at here, I'm giving some credit to this Zielman range oscillator. You don't need the range oscillator. You don't need this volume that I've added to my charts. These are crutches. I actually have range oscillators built into my calculations, as well as a bunch of other stuff, which we're going to talk about the engine in other videos. But just so you know, if you're looking at my chart and you're seeing volume and range oscillator, I keep these here because I like to see them. But you don't need to worry about that because technically, if you were to go into my settings, and I'll give you a sneak preview, in here, I have a whole bunch of stuff of how to set my VWAPs, right? Do I want it to be optimized by the mode? So let me go back up to here. Look at this. I created this because a lot of people wouldn't know how to set up an RSI length, how to set an ATR length, how to configure their open range breakout. I personally like an open range breakout of 15 with a one candle. So that means I'm not going to get any labels prior to or until 15 minutes go by in the morning when the market opens, because I don't want to get caught in that area where there's a lot of activity going on and I might not be quick enough on the button. So here, there's areas in here that are predefined based on my threshold of loss. I'm trying to preserve capital. So I might get an exit sign that says get out based on how far away from the ATR I am. You might want a bigger threshold of pain. That's great. You can come in here and change them. But if I go back up to the top, here's what I've done for you. I created a day trading 1 minute optimization, a 5 minute optimization, a 15-minute optimization, and a 20-minute or a custom. If you want to pick anything in here and have it work, you need to uncheck this. Then you can pick one of these and then it will go. Otherwise, if you're like me, I might be looking at a trade going, okay, here's NVIDIA. I'm watching this trade. Let's go to the daily and see what it looks like. Well, it's pretty clear it's going down now. Let's get into a 5 minute. I don't want to have to come back to my settings and readjust them. So this sync optimization to chart will change relative all the algorithms and the indicators based on what time sequence or time interval on your chart is. So it's a lot faster for me to just change my time. And now I want to day trade this. I can just quickly switch. I can adjust my candles so I can see them better. And while I'm doing that, um, the algorithm's going to kick in and it's going to give me all the newest symbols and let me know exactly where I'm at that 1 minute based on all the algorithms I put in the back end. So hopefully that's pretty helpful to show you what you get in terms of labels and information, how they work, and um, how you can navigate around and customize the trading to be to your liking, your risk, how you trade. Do you trade the 5 minute? Do you trade the 30 minute? Do you just go in and buy stock and you want to see what's the best time for it to get in? And if you went to the daily and you said, okay, there's support and resistance, where's the next support and resistance going to be? Well, look, if we take a sampling of that far out and let it generate, it will show you Right now, we're in a big supply area. It's probably going to come down to this demand area, maybe come back up, but you can see it's been in a channel, and you can see where the institutional buyers are stepping back in and the sellers are stepping back in. So this is kind of like your range that you can trade with. And so again, hopefully this helps you understand what you get in the indicator, how the pages are laid out, and why there's sometimes you'll see labels with percentages and other ones that are just quick call and puts on there. The other thing that I didn't see appear on here, which you'll also sometimes see when it's applicable, is there's an add label that will appear, and there's um, let's see what it's not showing. There's an add label. So I've configured it every hour. If the trend is still in the same and the price has moved enough, you'll get a new label called an add label. And it'll show you it's confident that it's still going to maintain that um, uh, trend. So if you want to keep adding to your position, whether it's stock or whether it's options, you can keep buying and add and have confidence. The other thing that I want to share with you is that because there's so many calculations going on in this, there's a requirement if you download and install that, and that is to configure the chart to be set up with after hours trading. So you'll want to configure your settings on the chart itself. After hours session. You want to put extended trading hours on. Some people aren't used to seeing that, but my algorithm will get confused and it'll throw an error because it will want to go back to infinity to calculate all the algorithms that I have built into this. So you want to make sure that when you install this, and we're going to get into downloading, installing, and configuring um, this platform, but right now, just to give you an idea of why you're seeing this green, or I'm sorry, blue area and gold area, this is the time up to midnight, and then this is the morning, and I've configured them to be those colors. So um, you could pick your own colors, have them be gray or whatever other layer colors you want. Um, so anyway, that's the layout and what you get with my indicator and why these things are appearing. Just take note that I hope that you wouldn't look at this put at 175 and the EMA protect at 174, meaning I didn't make any money on that. But if you took the put where it told you to up here at 175 and you respected this take profit, you're down to 173. Um, it determined that there's a change of character and you might want to lessen your position. You don't have to always exit on an exit sign. I personally, if I was looking at this chart, I wouldn't have exited because my two EMA lines, the yellow has not crossed over the gray as it almost did right here. But if this yellow is running in parallel with the gray, that's a good chance that this is still going to maintain that course and keep dropping. This is just warning you there's a change of character coming on, or hey, if you're nervous about this potentially going up to the right, which it could do, if this could have kept going from here and kept going up, this is a chance to have some caution. I didn't think so, and I would have stayed in this trade because these lines didn't really get much closer. A little bit, but not enough to get me nervous. So I would have waited for a couple more candle confirmation, and then we got my confirmation here that said it was a put, and I wouldn't have been out. So I'm back in, and now I'm riding it down here. And if I replayed that, there was probably this demand area was probably right in here also, and it was what caused this to have a little bit of a uptrend. So anyway, hopefully this helps describe what you're seeing, why you're seeing it, when you're seeing it, and how to read this chart. We'll get into more real live play with these. I'll do some more recording when I'm actually trading and what I'm seeing, and I'll describe it. But just to give you an idea, um, the settings area, which is a trading view function, is here. The optimization mode, no matter what you pick here, nothing's going to change, right? I could put the 1 minute on. It's not going to change these labels because you have the sync optimization on. If you turn the sync optimization on, off, uncheck that, then this optimization mode will kick in and you can adjust all these different variables that you want on this chart settings page. I'm sorry. And again, you can explore some of these things. You can ask questions, reach out to me and say, why did he have this on here? Why the projection bars? Maybe you don't want to see something. Maybe you don't want to see these are in your way. You can turn these off and those labels will go away for now. And if you want to just trade with that, you're also welcome to come in here and add other indicators. If you don't believe my 9 EMA line, you can go in here and get your own